So I'd like to call to order the November 19th meeting of the Batavia Park Board of Commissioners to order. Shelley, please call the roll.
Riley.
Here.
Dorsey.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Ray absent.
Aye. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any items to be added, removed, or changed on the agenda?
There are not.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion to establish the consent agenda as follows. Approval of the meeting minutes for the regular board meeting of October 15th. Approval of the meeting minutes of the executive session of October 15th. Approval of the meeting minutes of the special board meeting of October 22nd. Approval of the meeting minutes for special board meeting of October 29th. Approval of the executive session minutes for October 29th. Paid expenditures, expense approval report, investment summary, income statement, purchases, and approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the Batavia Public School District 101 and the Batavia Park District for the purchase of athletic uniforms and apparel.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion by Tillman, second by Dorsey. Any further discussion? Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Dorsey.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Ray absent. Tillman.
Aye, motion carries. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Dorsey. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is guests matters from the public. Anyone wishing to address the board this evening? I want to read very quickly our Citizens Guide to Addressing the Park Board. Anyone wishing to speak under the agenda item entitled Guest Matters from the Public shall adhere to the following guidelines. A person shall be permitted to speak upon being recognized by the chairperson. Please stand if possible and announce your name and address before commencing. All comments under Guest Matters from the Public are to be limited to 3 minutes, and each person shall only be permitted to speak once. All speakers shall address their comments to the chairperson. The chairperson may request that appropriate member of the park board or staff respond to the comment. The chairperson shall preserve order and decorum, and the chairperson shall decide all questions of order. When addressing the park board, members, administrative officers, and other persons permitted to speak shall confine their remarks to the matter at hand and to avoid personal remarks, the impugning of motives, and merely contentious statements. If any person indulges in such remarks or otherwise engages in conduct injurious to the harmony of the park board meeting, the chairperson shall immediately terminate the opportunity to speak. A decision is at the discretion of the chairperson or upon the affirmative vote of 2/3 of the majority of the park board present. Any person except a member of the park board who engages in disorderly conduct during the meeting shall be ejected from the meeting upon motion passed by the majority of the board present. Please do not repeat comments that others have made. Anyone wishing to address the park board this evening? You can go to that podium.
That'll get on there.
Adam Soloka, 231 Sauk Drive. I wanted to just thank the board as well as the administrative team here for about 1 year ago today. I remember staying at this podium and talking about the movement towards increasing the facilities we have here in town. And I'm pleased to see, based on the agenda, nearly 12 months after that, that we have moved the ball forward and have seen ideas and schemes, and we've engaged the stakeholders. So I wanted to compliment everyone on hearing our request and listening and acting. So just want to thank everybody.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? Moving on to the next agenda item. Next item is matters from the commissioners. Anyone wishing to address the public tonight? Make any public comments?
Well, I thought the 50th anniversary was well-run and well-attended. I'd like to thank staff for all the work they put in, especially the planning of it. It was very, very good. Allison, you did a terrific job with the your speech encompassing a lot of the history.
Oh, thank you.
In your capsuling. And Pat, I think you had some input there, which Allison commented on. So, I mean, I thought it was very nice. I thought it was well done.
Me too.
And so it was a pleasure to go to. It was a pleasure to see the folks that were there. And I think you had some long conversations with folks, with people. But it was nice to see the community come together on a very nice night.
Thanks,
Yeah, it
Kevin.
was awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Thank you for supporting it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Batavia Parks Foundation. Hi, Mike.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Just a few things to share with all of you from our foundation. We are sadly saying goodbye to two of our major players, Sharon Mitchell and Steve McKenna. They have moved on to other things, but they will still be part of our Parks Foundation board and support us in a lot of our endeavors. We do have a new board. Our president remains the same, who is Corey Porish-Plash, and our vice president now is Ed Malidor. Our treasurer is Dawn Moker, and our secretary is still Sarah Ryerson. We hope that you will look forward to, in the new year, coming from our foundation, 2 fundraisers. One will be casino night, which should be really, really fun. And the other, we are hoping to host a pickleball tournament.
Yeah,
Kevin, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay.
He's smiling.
Get some new shoes.
New shoes. Yes.
You're going to have park board representation
I'm
at that.
gonna need to know when that is.
Well, actually, yeah, we're hoping to coordinate with you guys to see when the facilities are ready and available.
Great. I look forward to supporting that. Thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda is the Fox Valley Special Rec. Any updates on Fox Valley Special Rec?
Actually, they just finished their Northern Nights Tree Lights fundraiser, and so the numbers are still coming in for their final fundraising efforts.
Okay, great. And then next item is correspondence. I believe we have one piece of correspondence, an email from the Memorial Park neighbor, Terry Hone?
Eric, is that how you say it?
Hone? Hone expressing thanks to the Park District for coordinating with him in clearing the brush near his property. So thanks to the Park Department for doing that. And nice of him to acknowledge that you guys took care of that for him. Next item on the agenda is always our favorite. It's announcements. Katie?
Thank you very much. Well, just a friendly reminder that the Park District offices are going to be closed Wednesday, November 28th through Saturday, November 30th in observation of the Thanksgiving holiday. And of course, on behalf of the entire Park District, we hope you have a wonderful holiday and want to know how grateful we are for all of you in such a wonderful community here in Batavia. But yeah, we're just rolling right into the holidays. So we want to experience the magic of the holiday season at this year's Celebration of Lights Festival on Sunday, December 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. There's going to be a performance by the Batavia Community Band, free hay rides, roasted chestnuts, holiday craft activities, a community sing-along, and much more. And also don't forget to stick around to meet Santa Claus and for our ceremonial tree lighting. The festival is presented in cooperation with Northwestern All of Us, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, Tanglewood Hills Brothers, BATV, YOLO Glow Novelties, and a special thank you to our partner, the City of Batavia. And ho, 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 Santa Claus is coming to town on Saturday, December 7th at 8:30 a.m. for the annual Breakfast with Santa at Shannon Hall. You can visit with the big guy and enjoy a delicious breakfast prepared by the Batavia Lions Club, and then stick around for some family-friendly entertainment. But we are getting pretty full, so pre-registration is required, so I would sign up soon. Speaking of the holidays, we have just a few spots left for our new Sunday, December 8th Christmas train event. Adults and children are welcomed on a magical journey aboard the Christmas City Express. There will be delicious hot chocolate, cookies, a reading, all while aboard a real moving train. So be sure to register soon for that. And then we're also inviting Batavians to channel their inner Clark Griswolds once again to enter the annual holiday house decorating contest. And we are changing things up this year, and it's going to be an online-only contest. Participants are asked to submit their own photo to marketing@bataviaparks.org by December 9th at 4 p.m. sharp. Voting begins for the People's Choice category on December 10th through the 19th on the district Facebook page. The house with the most likes by noon on the 19th wins. The winner will receive a special Batavia Park District prize package, and the addresses of all entries will be published unless otherwise specified, and this is for residents only. And just a reminder, there is a $5 cost to participate. And then other than that, you can always give us a call or visit our website at bataviaparks.org or call us at 630-879-5235 to learn more about all of our events and programs coming up. That's all. Nate.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is staff reports. So any updates staff would like to share with the board?
Only have this one today, so. For the museum, the Batavia Historical Society is again lighting up one of the places over at the Depot Museum area. It's Light Up the Bank Year, so bulbs can be purchased for $10 each, and it all goes towards the museum expansion project. And then also to remind folks that this year, the Depot Museum is staying open later than normal. They're going to be closing on the 15th of December, just so you can get down there and pick up your wonderful Batavia gifts that they sell in the gift shop for Christmas. So please stop down there. They've got quite a few fun things. So, on to Mitch.
Well, I know I've been talking about it for a while, but our 2020 budget process is coming to a close. It started really in June. You seem so disappointed, Jim. We really started in June with staff meetings that early, but I want to thank the board for their time at the staff or at the board budget retreat last month. There was really a great discussion there, and a lot of the points you guys brought up are going to help shape the direction the district takes in the coming years. So, thank you for your time. It was much appreciated, and there was a lot of great input there. As we finalize the budget, the finance department is starting to close out the fiscal year for 2019, and we're getting ready to gear up for the audit for next spring. There is another new GASB standard we have to implement this year that will affect our CAFR, and I actually went to a training on that today. But we're getting ready to close out the fiscal year now. It's been another great year here.
Terrific. Thank you.
So I wanted to take this opportunity to update everybody on a leaf collection within our parks and the city as well. Of course, everybody was affected by the snowstorms that we had, and it was a blessing in that it helped make all the leaves drop quickly, but there are some that are still hanging on the trees, and now the snow is melted. We're going back out into the parks, and we will be working on making our final push on either mulching the leaves or collecting them until the next snow comes. I would also like to share our excellent working party partnership with the city of Batavia. Their leaf collection efforts, they're finishing up the east side, and they're going to be moving to the west side, and then they will be done with their collection. They put daily updates on their website about what area they're going to be in. So if you have questions in regards to leaf collection from your property, you would want to call the city of Batavia and not Batavia Park District, and they would be able, or check on their website, and they'd be able to give you the most current update on their schedule. Other than that, have a great fall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like Katie said, the rec team is very busy with a lot of our holiday events coming up, so we hope to see you guys at some of those. Tween nights have been very popular. We've had over 80 people last week and a couple weeks before that, so we're very excited about numbers increasing for those. The rec team is getting ready for a lot of new stuff in 2020, so currently we're working on 2 nights for Daddy-Daughter Dance, so that will be January 31st and February 1st. Increased numbers, we want to get as many people at the event as possible, so 2 nights for that. We'll be adding pickleball and cube lessons in athletics, so we're excited for that in 2020. And we're also going to be adding kayaks soon this summer, so we're keeping busy. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Exciting. So this time of the year, the marketing department, we usually register for the IPRA Agency Showcase competition, and this coming year, we're actually doing full showcase once again. So this is a competition where all the park districts in the state of Illinois compete against each other for first place, second, or third in many categories. And so we are going to be competing in 8 categories this year. So we will be doing brochure series, large format marketing, logo design, paid ad, print communication, print promotional, video long form, and website. So pretty excited to hopefully bring some awards home for Batavia once again. So hopefully you guys can check out all of our competing categories come January. And then speaking of website, I've been talking for many months about this, but we are actually going live and launching with our brand new website this Monday, November 25th. So those of you who would like to check it out, that will be going live. It's got all the same great information, but getting a whole new look. And so that will be launching this Monday.
Awesome.
And so, of course, we know with anything new, it might be a little tricky navigating it. So we will have staff on hand ready to go to help anyone in the public navigate the new website. But we also welcome any feedback. A website is a fluid project. And so we definitely look forward to making some tweaks and updates as we get feedback from the public and from staff.
It's exciting. Great.
Yeah. And then other than that, I know I've been trying to share more detailed social media statistics with the board, and I'm super excited. Every now and then we get a viral post, which you're like, ooh, how did that happen? But the Celebration of Lights Festival, the Facebook event, actually has reached 105,900 people. It has received almost 6,000 comments. 5,700 people are interested in attending, and that was just last week per this report.
Wow.
So those numbers are actually all higher. So that really speaks to measures to the sort of wonderful event that we have in the heart of Batavia. And this is a free event that the public can participate in, and it seems like there's a lot of interest this year, and just hopefully no blizzard. So.
Tis the season.
Tis the season.
I think the early snowfall put people in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah, I think so too. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the updates. Board, any questions on staff reports? Okay, next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report.
Yes. So we're just switching gears for those of you watching at home and in the audience. Since we're talking about snowfall, there aren't a lot of sledding hills in Batavia, as we know. So, let's turn this on first. So we will find them where we can get them. So this is on our newest playground at the Eastside Community Center. And the little ones found a little poured-in-place rubberized surface next to the slide already in place, and they made their own sled hill. So I figured all of you would be pleased to see that creativity is alive and well here in Batavia, Illinois.
It's more fun in the snow.
Sorry about the motion sickness. Just this last week, I participated in a informational panel about the 2020 census. So for those of you watching at home and those of you in the audience, staff and board, please make sure that you are counted in the upcoming census. It's really important for the city and the school district in terms of state funding and federal funding as well, and for the city to keep their home rule status. And it's important for us as a park district so we can continue to look at targeted programming, and we can look at our playground equipment and make sure that we're looking at household sizes in our community parks, and that we're able to count every single person in Batavia. As Commissioner Riley and Commissioner Dorsey noted, we had our 50-year celebration, our fabulous 50, just November 2nd, which is a Saturday. And what a time that was. We had 90 people in attendance, and a special thanks to the Parks Foundation and the Batavia Historical Society for pitching in and helping out with the event. We had our originals, 2 of the original commissioners, Jim Anderson and Eldon Friednall, that were in attendance, and they were honored, as well as past commissioners, current commissioners, and staff It was a great celebration. It was a true black tie event. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that's actually the hallway where the preschool lockers are. You would never have known it. So, but it was a fantastic time, and we're going to continue rounding out this year with events that celebrate 50 years of the Park District. While we're at the Eastside Center, we're going to step into our brand new commercial-grade kitchen. And I'm pleased to announce the recreation team is right on top of it. They're already offering holiday cooking classes for the little ones. And we're going to offer all sorts of classes for adults as well. But we are getting a training here in the far right-hand corner to see how it all works. But what's neat is that right outside this kitchen is a foyer where there are going to be TVs, so you can actually, if you want to wait for someone who's in a cooking class, or if you want to be a part of the overflow, we're going to set up this area as a waiting room so people can also enjoy what they've just made, or they can wait for the next class to pop in. This is the vestibule area just adjacent to the Shannon Hall stage. And this is also where like a bride and groom may congregate right after they got married. So this is our one and only Sled Hill in Batavia. We're pretty proud of. Since we're outside, we're going to venture to a different season here. This photo, as you can see, was taken May 2nd of 2005. And this is of Levi Newton Park at the top. The bottom is Wind Energy Park. And this is proof that we are right on schedule with our 15-year playground replacement program. So next year, we're going to be working on getting that playground renovated and replaced. But actually, on December 12th, we invite you to a community input meeting where you can select what playground equipment is going to replace these two playgrounds. So we're right on schedule, and we're happy to have the public get a chance to vote. You're probably wondering, what is this? A lot of messiness in this picture. These little ones are a part of the Mill Creek Early Childhood Program, ages 3 through 5, and they are actually painting the Peace on Earth letters that are on the Peace Bridge right now as it stands. And so they had a great time. It was a great photo opportunity for them. And here you can see the Peace on Earth letters standing tall. Each letter is 12 feet tall, with the exception of the word on. And it takes our staff an entire day to put those letters up. They're pretty heavy. As you can see, it's pretty monumental. It's a little ceremony. There are a lot of little ones that like to get in line and high five our guys as they're getting ready to prep the letters and hoist them up. But this backdrop here on the Peace Bridge serves as many a backdrop for holiday photos. And I encourage you, if you haven't been out there to see it yet, it is lit up this year. We have, thanks to Craig Fultos of Fultos Tonsorial Parlor, he has donated the money to be able to light the Peace on Earth Bridge.
Allison, I forgot to tell you that the little ones that are on the bridge helping the guys put them up are some of the ones that painted the letters as well. I'm so excited they were
Full
part of it. So they met the crew there on Monday to help them. It was great.
They're still peeling the paint from their fingers. So they're wearing the gloves.
They loved it.
That's neat. And then last but not least, as Ms. Katie Drum mentioned, we have our website that we're getting ready to launch and on Monday, so we highly encourage all of you to check it out. That's a fresh face for the Park District, and we will continue to use it to enrich the quality of lives here in Batavia. That's a wrap.
Great, thank you. Board, any questions for Allison? All right. So next item on the agenda is our presentation. So we have a presentation from our facility community feedback report from Williams Architects and Pros Consulting. So we need the lights turned back, or I guess not.
Oh, it's a thing.
So actually,
Is it a thing or no?
all right. So I'm actually going to kick it off. It's with great pleasure that I get to do this presentation with no other than Tom Hollis of Williams Architects and Nick Neindorf of Pros Consulting. So the Batavia Park District, it's no secret that we are programming rich but facility poor. And over the last few years, the Park District has done everything we can from a community outreach standpoint to learn more about the community and what the needs are. And what we learned, and here's our agenda for tonight, what we have learned is that we have been serving our community in many different ways, whether it's through teaching children how to swim at the Hawkeye Beach, whether it is being the #1 employer of youth in Batavia. The Batavia Park District has been there every step of a person's life, every facet, every age of a person's life. The Batavia Park District has been there. However, when we offer programming, we've noticed we've been sending people away from the Park District. People are going to Geneva Park District for offering programming classes. Sometimes we partner with Marmion for their indoor pool. We're sending people outside of the Batavia Park District boundaries. We want to keep people here in Batavia. We did a community needs assessment that was given to the park board in January of 2018. And out of all the facilities, the 3 top priorities were given to us. #1, people wanted to have an indoor pool. They want that year-round experience that the Hawkeye Beach cannot provide. Next up, they want fitness elements or components, some said center, and an indoor walking track. In the community needs assessment, we also had asked people what their needs were, what their interests were, and was that interest or needs being met by the Batavia Park District. And as you can see, some of those numbers are pretty astounding, the significance between the need versus what's being met.
I believe, Allison, the needs were not just what we were, the demand being met was not only us, but in the surrounding area.
Very true, very true. And this is really what brings us to you today to talk about the recreational needs, and that is 75% of people in the community needs assessment had said that they have a strong desire for an activity center here in Batavia. As you can see, 52% strongly support, 23% somewhat support, but that is significant, staggering the number. So we knew we had a responsibility to get back out to the public and find out more. Focus groups were also conducted. This last summer, we had a listening tour. We went out to the different elementary schools in town and opened up the dialogue again to all residents, all ages. The youngest was age 8, the oldest was age 91, might be 92 by now. And what we heard loud and clear, people wanted indoor turf. They want that year-round experience from going outside from our parks in the fall, inside during the winter, or actually have a combination of both on a rainy day. Indoor water, fitness facility, but not just a fitness center. They'd like a place where they could do just cardio. They don't necessarily want a fitness center. Lounges for socializing. Connectivity is so important these days. And the baby boomers want to relate to the teens. The teens want to find out ways that they can become more involved in the community. So again, areas to connect are really important. And of course, indoor gyms and an indoor track. Obesity is on the rise. I think that's, again, no secret for any of us. And what better way to conquer that than to find a remedy for it? Also, this is what came up in the listening tour. So this is the community speaking with us. We learned that people wanted to have an area where they could congregate. Maybe it's playing a guitar and singing around a campfire with people. They want weekend events that can bring people together as one. Game nights, gathering spaces, so important. So after the listening tour, we held an indoor facility workshop, and we had a nice turnout. We had about 45 to 50 people attend, and we received a lot more feedback, which emphasized the indoor track, emphasized a pool, preferably 8 lanes. So tonight you're going to see the picture that Batavia painted. And I bring to the podium Doug Holzrichter of Williams Architects. Yep.
Good to be with you again tonight. I'm Doug Holzrichter with Williams Architects. And as Allison mentioned, we hosted a public engagement meeting with the community. It happened on October 8th, and we had a good turnout. think you said 40 to 50 people, and they were really great participants. They listened to what we had to say, and they participated pretty nicely with the whole evening. One thing we did with them is we presented some images. These are some of the images to express to them what types of amenities we were talking about. Certainly in the upper left-hand corner, we have an indoor pool. The upper right-hand photograph is a MAC gym. By the way, MAC stands for Multi-Activity Court Gym. Bottom left-hand image is a large indoor turf field, which is used for a variety of activities: soccer, lacrosse, baseball practice. And of course, the bottom right-hand photo is an indoor track for walking and jogging. Other images included the fitness or wellness, showing aerobic equipment. We have group exercise, the upper right-hand photo, and then multi-use space can be used for a variety of things, as you know, education, group activities. And then the bottom right-hand image is what we consider a gathering place, such as a lobby or other common areas within the building. So we wanted to provide this kind of background and education for the group so that when we talked about the concepts, they would have a good understanding of what we were addressing. As I said, they were very good participants. They filled out a number of comment cards, and this is an accumulation of the comments that were provided to us. And it may be a little bit difficult to see here, but a majority of the comments in the upper left-hand corner address the wellness and fitness component of the facility, saying that was a high preference of the group. The bottom left-hand corner, the large blue triangle, talked about an indoor lap pool, a high school competitive size lap pool. So that was a high preference item. The right-hand triangle, the gray triangle, talked about a warm water pool. We also had another aquatic-related area that received a lot of feedback, and that was the indoor play feature associated with the aquatics. Finally, the next largest area that received comments was the indoor turf and gym component. So beyond that, we had some other comments about the secondary spaces, but you can see there was strong support of these major areas. We briefly then showed them four conceptual schemes. I won't go into detail about these with these plans, but there are differentiators. The upper left-hand option one, had the indoor aquatics and had a large indoor turf field. So that, and beyond that, we had multi-use space and wellness and fitness. Multi-use, wellness, and fitness were represented essentially the same in each scheme. Option two, the main difference was instead of the indoor turf, we showed the group indoor hard surface courts for basketball, volleyball, and other courts games. Next, in option three, instead of the last six, I should have said option 1 and 2 had 6 lane lap pools plus an indoor therapy pool. Option 3 showed a single 8-lane competition pool, and it had a combination gym and turf area on the right-hand side. Option 4 then was a split scheme, which would have occurred on 2 different sites, with the main aquatic component and fitness spaces being on one side, and the main athletic component being on another site. So then we, in the responses from the group, they commented on which scheme they liked the best. And option 3, which was the scheme showing the combination indoor turf and hard surface court component, received the most support. The second that was option 2, which was just to move back, would have been the indoor hard surface court. scheme. Other than that, the other major components were similar. Tom Polis in a little bit will go into the detail of the final scheme, which was an accumulation of the main support for this facility. So with that, I will hand it off to Sam.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and to the public here at Batavia Park District. It's wonderful to be here this evening and to present our findings. Really, this is a continuum of the hard work that the Batavia Park District has done to date. You know, Doug went back, and I think what's telltale here, just from a quick set of lenses looking at the open house, is that down in the right-hand corner, really the four main ingredients that came through, the aquatics, the multiplex or athletic areas, the wellness, and the general program were all core to what we heard in the survey, what we heard in the listening tour. So that was really, really delightful from our perspective. There shows strong energy in a continuum of the programs that Doug just went through. And I think that's important to note because really our effort was to take everything that we heard and try to figure out a single idea or a consortium of offerings in a single solution for your consideration. And as a part of our process, we're going to get into a market analysis, which really precedes the design here in an effort to look at what is the service district's unmet needs and what is the mission of the Batavia Park District. How does that work hand in hand with each other? Demographics are going to play into that. Recreational trends are going to play into that. And a quick gap analysis. And we hired, or the Batavia Park District hired a individual consultant with that by the name of Pros Consulting. And I think Austin is here to talk about their findings and how that supports everything you just heard from Doug Holzrichter on the open house situation. Go ahead.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you for having me. My name is actually Nick Terodor. Austin's my coworker. We all we partner a lot with Williams, similar projects all over the country. So we were brought in to do the business planning side, so we could add some analysis and data to help support the design and the facility. So as Tom mentioned, we did a market analysis where we try to understand the population served and also identify the recreation trends and identify the unmet needs or the gaps in the community. So at a high level, the demographics we reviewed, we established, it's important to establish the population size. That helps us set the figures as we do financial forecasts for the facility. So we understand how big the market is we're serving. It also helps us understand how that market is distributed across age segments. We found that you have a little higher relation of ages 0 to 19 and that 35 to 54 age range, which typically signals that there's presence of families, which is also supported by the above average household size. Another interesting thing, we're always thinking about the seniors, so we're fairly consistent with kind of the state and national distribution there. And as far as our earning capabilities of the population served, it's really promising also that the median household income is extremely high, much higher than the state and national averages. Sometimes that can signal that people are more willing to pay for high quality services. So we also look at recreation trends. These are national participation trends. We use the SFIA, which is the authority on sports and fitness activities. They do an annual survey and establish participation rates for a variety of activities. So what you see here are indoor sports. And they're basically ranked, those are in millions. They're ranked from the largest recreation activities down to the smaller size. And then you see a 5 and a 1 year growth trend. The green signals growth, the yellow, and if there was red, is a decline. So some good figures here. Big sports like basketball have had an uptick recently, which the 2 to 3% may not seem large, but when you're talking 24 million, that's a pretty big swing. And then there's also some activities like indoor soccer that over the 5-year trend have grown, but maybe down a little bit in recent years. Pickleball is, everyone knows, is a fast-growing sport, and it was also an important component of our plan in the projections. growing at the fastest rate over the last year. There is no 5-year trend data because they just started tracking it about 4 years ago, I believe. And then some sports that have been growing really, really rapidly over the last 5 years have started to see a little bit of decline with rugby and lacrosse. So that might mean that some of those activities are starting to normalize their participation rates. Through the same survey, we also have participation rates for fitness activities. I know this is a very long list, but what you need to know is that there is a lot of green on this list, so that's a great thing for the type of facility design that we're looking at, where a lot of these types of activities will be encompassed. At the very top, fitness for walking is by far the largest. Currently, there's about 111 million people that walk for fitness. Although the 5-year trend's down for walking for fitness, we kind of theorize that that 5-year trend is related to the fact that everyone's getting more and more active and interested in a healthy lifestyle. So walking for fitness years ago, when the rise of participation happened, has kind of transferred over to all these other activities. So we're seeing people get more interested in different activities, the Pilates, the yoga. So very promising from a fitness aspect. Then we did what we call market gap analysis, or a similar provider analysis. This basically identifies facilities that would be similar in nature, and we map them out. The outline you see here is a 20-minute drive time, which is a safe estimate of where we would expect people to drive from. And what we do is we plot out, we have about 12 of the blue providers. You'll see there's a higher concentration to the northern portion. And then we have a handful of the red shade of providers, and they're just a little bit outside of that drive radius, so we don't call them direct providers, but they also have some components that are going to be included in our plan. So along the left-hand side, we've kind of identified the 4 core areas of the facility design that you'll see here in a few. And it just helps us understand how saturated or where the gaps exist for the different amenity types. As you can see to the right, the green column, that's the indoor turf, which also showed up really high in the survey. And we see that there's not a lot of opportunity for that, as well as indoor walking track. And again, back to that's the largest fitness activity that people are doing these days. This is the same analysis. This is just sorted by the distance of drive. So this is the closest facilities all the way down to the ones that are farthest away. And it also adds some additional detail as far as who is operating that facility, whether it's private or another agency. And we use the information in the full report. We also assess the programs that are being offered in these facilities, and then look closely at the pricing. Because as we establish our price points, we want to make sure that we're in line with the market. So I'll hand that back over to Tom for the design.
Thank you. So what this helps us do is really verify and establish that the core programs we came up with earlier were on target with the business plan. And you'll see the business plan at the end of the presentation. It's also important to note that in the public engagement series we established, and with staff, we established some design criteria. And some of the design criteria was part of the listening tour, keep it multi-generational. This is for all age segments. Make this the heart of the community. Make this for the Batavia Park District. Embody the spirit of recreation and indoor opportunities. Flexible, multi-use. So we're not talking about dedicated space for a single activity. We're talking about flexible space, multifunctional space. Space that can be used in various hours and various days throughout the year. This is a 365 facility. Not quite 24/7, but it's a good 17-hour facility. Inclusive, all age groups, all abilities, all walks of life. Social and community well-being, this is a common thread for us from the listening tours. Promote healthy lifestyles, that goes back to the wellness. Environmentally and financially sustainable, so both segments. Be it you're an environmental community, that's understood. The financial sustainability is something that we needed to look at as well. So that means a lot in terms of the way the design is organized. And promote lifelong learning. This is something that was very important. So with all that said, And the spaces you saw before, I won't go in detail here. You can see the multiplex, which represents athletics, is roughly about 32,000 and some change. The aquatics, which is the indoor pool, 14,800, and that's all support amenities. The wellness sits at about 5,700 square feet, multi-use 4,200 square feet, and then the rest is really facility operations, support, and common areas, which in a clever use, those common areas are where you can really promote social gathering, that opportunity for the community to come together. Total square footage at 65,100 square feet. So you saw the different options. I'll kind of walk you through the singular solution we came up with as a meld of all the comments and all the information gathered to date. Make sure the pointer works on my hand before I do something dangerous. So the main entry is here. Upon the main entry, you're greeted by central control and what I'd like to call facility hospitality. Right up front, hospitality, but yet in a secure way, backed up by facility administration and instant orientation. You see the pool, you look forward, you see the multiplex with the courts, you look to the right, you get a sense of where the program spaces are, and when I get to the next slide, when you look up above, you understand where the wellness component and the indoor track are. So upon entry, somebody understands the major components of your facility, and just as importantly, as we talk about the business plan, you have a central point to control, and you're really trying to eliminate multiple points of control within this facility. The pool, although we say competition, is really a multi-program pool, right? This is a pool where you could do aerobics. This is learn to swim. This is an opportunity for competitive swimming as well. You have a dive well, you have some deep water for some deep water exercise, and you have a full 8 lanes. You have spectator viewing, so the spectator viewing is not just for competition, it's for the parents that want to watch their kids out there in a learn to swim activity. And you have ample deck space, which is really important because before you go in the water, you want to instruct the kids or the adults or whomever on a dry land piece of opportunity just to get them acclimated and to understand the fundamentals. You have the proper support areas, which are the locker rooms, which include family locker rooms. So again, all-inclusive within the core. This is for the entire facility. It has the support elements of first aid, a guard, a pool control, and storage. You have right up front in that particular location a party room and also a child care space. Again, in the spirit of multifunctional, we can't sustain a dedicated child support space, but you can for the peak hours of the day. You can convert that party room over, and so that's, again, a space working in both ways. Then we have 2 multi-use rooms, rather large-sized rooms that accommodate with a dividing partition, larger events or smaller events, supported by a warming kitchen that could have catering functions, it could have concession functions, it could even serve right to the core of the facility. Right behind that, we have a multiplex of indoor turf. Again, lacrosse, batting cages, baseball, softball, performance fitness. You could actually do exercise in here too, above and beyond performance fitness. So it's not limited to indoor turf for just soccer, but yes, soccer plays into this as well. And then we have a multi-activity court opportunity too, where we have 1 full-size high school court, we have 2 recreational cross courts, we have 3 pickleball courts, and an inlay of a volleyball court. So another hard surface that provides ample opportunities for programming. Then, like any facility, which I'll talk to a little bit more in the site organizational concept, every facility should allow for expansion, regardless if you're meeting the future needs of the park district. No one knows 40 years from now or 30 years from now what's going to happen. So we like to say 10 to 20% for expansion if possible. So we've allowed for athletic expansion, general program expansion, and aquatic expansion, kind of the naturals to this facility. Upon going upstairs, which once again is controlled with a main elevator and a main stair right in proximity to central control and hospitality, you would enter the wellness, which is 2 spaces. One is an open exercise floor and a Group X resistive studio for self-directed and directed exercise. Views to the lower level, views into the track, views into the multiplex, and access to a large indoor walking, jogging, running track, about 9 laps to the mile. So that's a really good-sized indoor track. And again, that has views into the natatorium, which is the pool, the fitness, the space below, and the outdoors. It's great to look outdoors when you're on a track, but it's also great to see all the activities within the facility. So from a site organization perspective, you would have the main activity center at 65,100 square feet. You'd need some stormwater management. You'd like to separate it with a promenade for a pedestrian and separate that from vehicular access. A parking lot about 4 cars per 1,000 would be ideal. And again, future expansion of a parking lot and opportunities to expand your facility from a diagrammatic perspective. We also heard in the listening tour that if you can get a trail connection, that would be wonderful. So if this can be placed somewhere where you could have an indoor, outdoor connectivity, that's just a bonus to this project from our perspective. And then as we look at the conceptual of what could the massing look like for a facility like this, well, we started to look at how do these forms play in a 3-dimensional perspective. Well, we looked at the outside form and the kind of natural wind as a form of the facility. We looked at transparency of glass and some stone that's iconic to Batavia and that blend together. We really wanted to celebrate recreation and activity. So the glass is there not only from a visual connection, both from the inside to the outside, but also an opportunity from a sustainable perspective to thrust light into the facility, into the inner parts of the facility, and really abide by sustainable standards. Then as you turn the corner, you start to have a little bit more conventional, just in order to kind of balance the cost, some conventional architecture that harmonizes. And so what we say by conventional architecture, some prefabricated architecture that can be treated in a way that harmonizes with the rest of the facility, so it doesn't look like it's just tacked onto the facility. And that's for the large multiplex component, because it is a nice clear span component, which gives us some opportunity for cost effectiveness. Then as we turn the corner to the aquatics, well, it'd be great in the natural landscape of this facility to collect all the water from the roof, get it into a rain garden, and use it from a cistern and sustainability perspective. So we're looking at water collection as well. Then, picture tells 1,000 words. I said you come in, you see instant orientation. Well, here you are, a little elevated if you're tall. This is from a probably 12, 13-foot perspective. But anyway, you're looking at the aquatic facility to the left. You see the grand staircase coming up. You get a sense of the fitness, the group exercise beyond, the gym in the background, hospitality by this young lady that's ready to greet you when you walk in the door, and then the general program rooms right down the way. Here's a view when you're at my height, looking at the facility. Again, social gathering, using this lobby space as an opportunity to read a paper, to watch your children, to enjoy time with others while people are recreating in the facility. The pool, again, the warm water program therapy pool, kind of what it would look like in this perspective. The 8 lanes and all the great views of natural light in that facility. Up in the fitness floor, once again, some superb views looking down into the natatorium, looking out to the great outdoors, wherever that might be within the Batavia Park District. And then a sunset view, again, the glow of the facility, embracing recreation and celebrating that. And we get to cost. What does this all look like from a cost perspective? Well, right now, as it stands, we're at a $28.2 million budget with all the components together. We understand it's preliminary. Like I said, this is our attempt to pull everything together, and that final costs are subject to the fund availability within the Batavia Park District's means. So that might mean tweaking something from a core program perspective. But at the end of the day, it's here in totality from a kit of parts. It's just how we're going to put these parts together and fine-tune them from a cost perspective. With cost comes the sustainability of the business plan, and I'd like Nick to come back up here, not Austin, his evil twin, to talk about the business plan.
Thanks, Don. Okay, so once we have the concept design in place, now it's time to start putting some numbers to it. So we developed an operational plan, and the culmination is a performa, which is a 5-year forecast of how the facility will perform. So again, we used a pretty extensive process. We used all of our data from the market analysis, very important as we developed the operational plan. We tied into the survey results that helped identify the core programs for the facility and the need. We spent some time with staff. We collaborate with staff. It's hard for us to come in and understand what you all do on a daily basis and how things are expected to operate. So thank you to Allison and your team for putting up with all my questions and my iterations. So, but we definitely work closely with the staff to make sure that our numbers and our projections were well in line. Establish the core program, the operational plan, the design, and like I said, it culminates in the pro forma. So as far as an operational philosophy, the intention is that it's a program-driven facility versus a membership-based facility. So we want a high level of activity, not necessarily interested in having members in the building sitting open and hoping everyone that signed up at the first of the year shows up. So we also want a broad segment appeal. We want to cover all ages, multi-generational, and a broad range of activities. As you can see by the different components identified in the core plan, we have a wide variety of fitness and sports and socialization going on in the building. We established the revenue centers more or less, where we want to make a lot of money off programs. As I mentioned, it's a program-driven facility. We also have daily entry fees and admission. While we're not going to do a all-inclusive membership, the plan calls for seasonal and annual passes that are amenity specific. So that would grant you access to, say, the walking track or the lap pool, or a combination of both, as well as the fitness areas. So it's kind of a pseudo membership that allows people to have some constant access to those amenities that are desired. Rentals and permits are another important revenue center. And then on the smaller side and more of a value added are the child care arrangements and having that available to your participants and vending. We also incorporated the existing philosophy of using resident and non-resident rates, but just tying that to the entry fees and the passes, as well as the rentals and permits. The facility utilization target, as I mentioned, we expect this to be a busy center. That's what we want, high activity. We want it full at all times. So upwards of 80% would be a great rate. And then overall, we wanted to land around a cost recovery of 90% to fit with the vision. So from there, we develop our operational, our performance assumptions. So the performance is, again, it's a 6-year financial forecast, basically establishing the base year and then projecting 5 years of growth. Like I mentioned, we developed it closely with staff so that it makes sense. And we established the operating hours, 7 days a week, consistently, open very early, open very late. Again, that's going to help keep that facility moving with all the programs that are going on. So we have a lot of opportunities for people to use the space, about 353 days a year. We used existing rates from the programs that we currently offer, as well as that market perspective. As I mentioned in the gap analysis where we identified similar providers, we also looked at their prices, especially for things that we don't necessarily offer currently. So turf fields would be a big one, where we really wanted to get down to that per square foot cost as we developed our financial projections. The new operational plan will add 11. Well, it'll have 11 full-time dedicated positions to the facility. Those may be a reuse of existing human resources. So not necessarily hiring 11 brand new people, but as far as the facility operation, it will require 11 full-time positions and then over 50,000 hours of part-time help as well. We're also interested in continuing our strong relationship with our contract instructors, and we've identified certain programs that is most appropriate, and we've incorporated a 60-40 split, which is slightly in our favor from the current rate, but we think that with the quality of the facility, the contract instructors coming in, it'll be well worth it. As we did our projections, especially for the passes, we looked at a 30% market capture rate. Again, we used those demographics, so we tried to distribute those passes based on families and seniors and youth, so it matches up and aligns with our current population that we serve. We also, in the philosophy, we wanted to have a life cycle replacement fund, which basically is 5% of revenues that'll get captured each year and set aside. That way, in the future, when we have ongoing routine maintenance needs or we have life cycle replacement of amenities or equipment, that will be a nice little nest egg to satisfy those needs. Keep in mind the projections that I'm going to show next do exclude the capital cost. That's related to the number that Tom just shared. And then in most cases, the projections aim to be conservative. Yes, we want it to be highly programmed and a high utilization rate, but we don't want to put the Park District in a defensible position. So that being said, this is where it all comes to culmination. So at the top, you'll see revenues. Again, first year and then 5 years of projections. The facility, we project to do around 1.9 million in revenue. The expenditure side, we sit at around 2 million. And that's right in line with facilities we see across the country. Generally do the operational cost around $30 a square foot on the high end for a really high-performing, high-functioning facility. And then the maintenance endowment fund is that small row there, just so you can see kind of what is getting put back each year. We subtract that from the full cost recovery as well. So the numbers that you see at the bottom in the base year, the first year of operation, we projected to be around a 91% cost recovery, even after removing the 5% from the endowment. And then that will slowly, with our growth inputs, increase to around 93% over the 5 years. So again, this is right in line with a very high-performing, high-functioning facility that's program-driven, and it looks great, and it has a very nice cost recovery rate that'll make it pretty feasible and sustainable. So, with that, I'll open it up to the board for questions and comments.
Thank you very much. Board, any comments before I? Questions? Kevin?
The total cost of the facility, you didn't really go into materials. Is that like standard with whatever you use nationally or in this area as far as the quality level of wear, etc.?
Are you talking for the operation or the capital?
I guess for the facility, what the
Construction
floors are going to look like, the walls, it's
Right.
like mahogany and
Right. So it's more in line with what Austin talked about earlier, Nick earlier talked about. You look like Austin, I'm sorry. What Nick talked about earlier, and that is, keeping your CIP down to a replacement value that makes sense with long-term, long-lasting materials. So it's not like mahogany and things like that, but it's durable materials that are standing the test of time, used nationally. It's certainly not a 20-year throwaway building, where you're going to redo the building all in 20 years, but yeah, they're quality materials.
But it's based on historical data.
Absolutely based on historical data. And just like the performa at 93%, understand you're here to provide service to a community, right? And you're doing it as a program-driven facility. So we didn't work a performa here that was all about 100% capture. We worked a performa that was right for Batavia Park District.
Good.
So I want to touch base on the gap analysis, because I think that's important. So what we saw, thanks, John. What we saw from the community survey was that regardless of what the Park District is currently providing, the community felt there wasn't enough services being provided within the Batavia Park District to start with, right? Even with existing providers or any new facilities or where they're currently going, they felt it was under provided for. So by having this facility, we're not trying to fill that entire gap. We're trying to provide services in the context of a recreation center for Batavia Park District patrons but we're not trying to become something that is intended to fill a gap in the market space, right? So I just want to make sure we...
Yeah, and that's why you see even those first two columns on that map that we had, those components were a gymnasium and a pool. And we saw good coverage of that. And again, to your point, we want to make that our own. So.
Okay, and then as far as the costs are concerned, the 65,000 is a target based on the initial feedback we got from our focus groups, based on discussions with staff. There's still work to be done here. The balance between the capital outlay for the construction of the facility and its operation still need to maintain to be in balance, but there's some work to be done, but it was never intended to be a finished product, really. We're at the beginning stages, not the ending stages.
Correct.
And then as far as the facility is concerned, and I want to reinforce this, Tom, so you can speak to it, and that is, this is really designed to be a community recreation center.
Correct.
It's not designed to be a health club or a fitness center or all those things. We're trying to fill gaps that our community has expressed to us as limitations we have currently, or a limitation that they can't, that they're not able to service or provide service for within the context of the Park District or our community.
Absolutely, and it goes to the program needs. That's what was really the outcry here. It's not all about space, it's what kind of programs from an indoor perspective are you trying to accomplish. Then that tells us what kind of spaces we need to make available and develop from an architectural perspective such that you can meet those programs in the spirit of a community recreation center.
Okay. Board, any more questions or comments on the presentation tonight?
I have a ton, but I'll save them. But I do have a lot of questions that are about
details? Or?
Yeah, more into the weeds, really, with staff and so forth about programming and some of the other, particularly the huge open space on what are our ideas for that. But I'll save those for another time.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both for, and everyone that came with you tonight and worked on this, because this has been several years' worth of work and a culmination of tonight's presentation. And I think the staff did a terrific job as well in providing input. And I'll talk in a little more detail about those things on agenda item number 16. Okay, so,
thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is, I'm going to take these together, is 15A and B, and I know, Kevin, you have some additional questions on the second reading for the Governance Policy Manual and Administrative Policy Manual. I'm happy to table these till next month in terms of action, but if you have some things you want to address this evening, please feel free to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think they're all that big necessarily. On the first one, in the governance, if you turn to page 136 of the governance, they're all numbered. So page 136.
What chapter is that in? Do you know what section?
It's
I think it's just
1.149.
All right. Thank you.
I'm there. TIF districts?
Yeah, the TIF district. So the only thing I had, and mine's now underlined, says the district and board. I don't know if it's, I don't think it was underlined before. But, so the only thing.
It was deleted.
Huh?
That section was deleted.
The
But
district
it's
and board?
underlined because it was track changes.
I thought the deleted says the executive director and or his or designee. Well, wasn't that deleted?
Yes.
Okay, but, so as it is, it says the district and board, so that's the part that I have an issue with. The district and board shall generally be in support of any and all TIF districts as long as the purpose of such a district is to assist in improving quality of life issues and promote redevelopment. And I just think that that's like a leading sentence, that the board, as a default, will generally support TIF districts. And I think,
We can remove that sentence altogether.
and I think that's all I'm asking.
Sure, that's not a problem. It doesn't affect the context of the policy by removing that altogether.
Yeah, because there's 6 items to consider when you're looking at TIF, and I think that's what we should do on an unbiased basis. Just look at whatever the TIF is.
Absolutely.
Look at these 6 items, and then we vote yes or no.
Yep, we can delete that from there.
Is that okay with?
I have no issue with it.
I have no
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay, see, easy.
Sure. All right, what else do you have? Is that,
What else you got?
does that suffice?
What else you got, Kevin?
For that section,
Sure.
I have in the next, okay, in the next section, it's probably gonna be just as easy. I was, go to page 153 of the admin and administrative manual.
Okay.
Let me find it here. A lot of pages in this thing.
Yeah, it's easy to get lost.
So starting with 153, and then also the same kind of thing on 158 and 160, there's a big deleted section, like 153, it says special populations. And then on the other 2 sections, there's large sections deleted.
Correct.
Which
So
is fine.
Those
but-
policies are recommended to be deleted altogether.
So no, not even in there at all.
Correct.
Okay, because I just thought they were kind of, they address some significant things.
But
But
those,
if they're not needed, then they're not needed, but.
yeah, they're not needed. Like special populations, we cover that with Fox Valley Special Recreation Association.
Okay, and then what was the other one? 158.
I know it's tricky with track
Program
changes.
evaluations. Hmm?
It can get tricky with track changes, trying to actually track what is being
No,
added or deleted.
Is that stuff in some other area now, or we just don't need that?
Actually, for programming evaluations, that was moved to our procedural manual.
Okay, so that's
So there are a
fine.
lot of,
No, that's fine, as long as it's moved someplace, not just.
oh yeah,
you know,
no,
like
it's,
something.
right, I should say it's
Okay.
been
Well,
removed
then
and
we're-
replaced.
Then we're good. And the other thing was bin
Relocated.
max
Relocated.
designations. So if that's moved to a different contract, then as long as they're addressed someplace.
And minimum, maximum designations have also, that was also moved to procedural manual,
Okay,
so.
so, good.
Because it's
Okay.
more policy than procedure, so we wanted to separate that out.
Okay. Well, we'll table both of these till next month, if that's okay. We'll bring them back for
Sure.
final board approval.
Thanks, Kevin, we'll make those changes.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the approve the resolution number 260 to consider a resolution providing for and requiring the submission of a proposition to issue $27,140,000 worth of general obligation bonds to the voters of the district at the general primary election being held on March 17th in 2020. Before I call this for a motion, I want to take a minute to thank a few people, but also perhaps take a trip down memory lane. When I got on the board in 1998, Pros Consulting was just finishing a master plan for the Batavia Park District. That project was, and today actually set in motion much of the capital work that we have been doing over the past 20-plus years of trying to increase access to quality facilities within the Batavia Park District. Much of the contents of that master plan were provided for in terms of understanding how a little park district like Batavia would grow up one day. And we've grown up, but our facilities don't reflect that. In the year 2000, we did an initial community survey, which gave us some indication as to where our limitations were, many of which you saw in the current facility survey. Things haven't changed. We haven't really been able to move the needle on facilities since then. In 2006, we did another community survey that provided a little more clarity and provided a basis for a referendum in 2008 and a subsequent referendum in 2010. Back then, the community told us that they wanted us to go back to the drawing board and do more work. We are now approaching 2020, some 10 years later since we last engaged the community in a referendum. But I will tell you that this process I'm very proud of, and I'm very proud of everybody sitting in this room. I think that the board had clarity and understanding what the community was asking of us and the challenge to us, with Adam coming out and saying, hey, you know what, we think you should do more. Acuity Consulting, Jeff Andresen did a terrific job in engaging the community with questions, but helping us understand what they were telling us, right? Making sure that we really understood what was inside those questions and what the response drove in terms of our decision making. As we sit here tonight, we decided that that wasn't good enough. We wanted to have a conversation with people, so we started the listening tour. And that took some 4.5 months to actually go out and actually have a conversation with members of the community to test what we thought we heard when they answered the questions, but what they really wanted to provide for us in real time and have a community conversation. Additionally, Williams Architects did a terrific job in coming in and generating conversation regarding something that's a little more concrete. You know, we want to do these things, but where would we do these things? And having the community input and having, 50 people show up to give you some clarity on what they think a facility would support in terms of programming. And I think the community did a terrific job in really giving us an unvarnished opinion as to what they felt the Batavia Park District should be doing, what we should be building, what we want for the citizens and patrons of this community. I want to thank staff for the tireless time you've spent not only providing the board some insights on what it is that we're doing, what our community wants in terms of true program experiences, family experiences, multi-generational experiences, and frankly, social experiences. I know this is it has not been an easy path, and I don't mean in terms of hard, but in terms of long hours, extra hours, understanding that these things are important to be a reflection of truly what the community is asking of the board, so we have clarity as to how to move forward. I want to thank my fellow board members for the extra time they spent in meetings and conversations and challenges to ensure that we have a plan that we believe is consistent with not only what the community has asked of us, but is consistent with our values. This is about families. It always has been about families. From the very beginning in 1969, it's been about families. And so having the opportunity here to have a facility that not only responds to what individuals desire for their personal lives, but ways that they can spend time with their families, because Batavia is a unique place. We have families that have been here for generations. And it's really, really important that we provide a place that they can go and recreate and engage and socialize. So this vote here tonight is one that we don't take lightly, and we certainly have done our homework in making sure that we have a clear picture as to what the community has asked of us, and I believe we're going to take the vote now. So, the secretary has to read the questions. So, Madam Secretary, would you like to read?
Oh, absolutely. I think I have a different script than what you have, though.
Is this the most current one?
Yeah.
You want to hand that to me?
So, I was going to say, technically, on behalf of the secretary, with Tara being absent, is it okay that I do this, or would it need to be a board member that does this?
No.
Okay.
You can read it.
Okay. This says, I entertain a motion.
If that's the motion as opposed to just a script, then the motion should be read by a board member.
Right.
Hey, John, you want to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I entertain a motion to approve resolution number 260, a resolution providing for and requiring the submissions of the proposition to issue $27,140,000 general obligation park bonds to the voters of the district at the general primary election to be held on March 17, 2020, for the purpose of building and equipping an indoor recreational activity center and acquiring and improving land thereof, therefore, as read by title.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Tillman, second by Dorsey. Any further discussion or comments, board? I don't want to, this is a big decision. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to make any public statements you'd like to at this time.
Yeah, I have been involved with the Park District for probably 25 years now, either coaching and or on the board since 2008. And to Pat's point, I do not take this lightly at all. I think this is something that I feel very strongly about, having been one of the people that helps provide recreation and entertainment for some of the kids, hundreds of kids in this town over 20 years. I know that our programming has always been extremely strong, our staff has been extremely strong, but our facilities have been light. And we've always, in the entire time that I've been involved with the Park District, we've had a need for upgraded facilities. And I think that in my involvement with the referendum in 2008 and the referendum in 2010, the last 10 years have really been, it's been interesting to see the progression of how we approached this particular referendum versus the other two. There's been a lot more study. There's been a lot more soul searching as to what we really need, what the community really needs, and reacting to that. So to the point at hand, I'm excited about it, and at the same time, I don't want it to be misled that this is something that's not being done with a lot of thought behind it.
Very good. Anyone else?
No, I think just to echo what you said. I mean, this is about community, it's about Batavia. A facility such as this will help. Allison, as you were talking about, there's obesity issues in the country, there's activity issues, just being active, and those kind of things help with general knowledge and education. I think having this facility will greatly enhance those things by helping our kids and parents stay active.
Great.
And for me, being the newest and youngest member of the board, this was my first referendum that I worked on. I've lived in Batavia for going on 5 years now. I decided to run because, you know, we as Batavians have a sense of community that's unlike a lot of the other, you know, communities around us. And this is a great way for us to not only enhance the community, but bring a lot of people together around, you know, the values of the Park District, which is recreational activities. So, you know, there was a lot of, we did a ton of research on this. Williams Architects, they had provided a great plan and got a lot of feedback. So for me personally, I think that it is time for Batavia to take a step forward, for the Park District to move into 2020 and beyond with a new facility that can offer recreational opportunities for more people.
Terrific. Thank you. Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Dorsey.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Gray, absent. Kelly.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. The next item on our agenda is the approval of ordinance number 388, levying assessment and collection of taxes. Does anybody want to set this up before we take a vote? Mitch?
So this is an annual ordinance the Park District adopts. We are one of the taxing bodies in Batavia. This ordinance represents a 1.9% increase to the tax levy. That's based on the Consumer Price Index and consistent with the property tax extension limitation law. This is an important part of funding our 2020 budget.
Very good. So entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 388, levying assessment and collection of taxes as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Dorsey. Any further discussion? Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Dorsey.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Gray, absent. Kelly.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, so next item on the agenda is executive session. So I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session for leasing, property and land acquisition 2C5 and personnel 2C1 under the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Dorsey. Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman?
Aye.
Dorsey?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
Ray absent, Salomon?
Aye, motion carries. So thank you very much. We are going into executive session now. We have no action items to before us after executive session, so I want to thank you all for coming tonight and sharing your materials and your insights, and we will see the viewing audience next month. I expect we'll be in executive session for probably 20 minutes to a half hour for those reporters in the room. So thank you.
Thank you.